Welcome, friends, to another exciting episode of A VGM Journey. And I'm your host, The Messenger. The track that we're playing in today's show is Parachute Remix from Game & Watch Gallery 2. It was originally composed by Noriko, Nishizaka, Yoko, Mizuta, and Saburo Sasaki, and this remix was done by Rabid Tunes. We're going to change things up on the show, and instead of playing video game music, we're going to play video game music remixes. And just like VGM, there are so much really good video game music remixes out there. And what I'm going to play on this show is just a very tiny percentage of what's out there. I could honestly do like a dozen of these shows and would still just barely scratch the surface. So let's kick things off with another really good remix. This is Soak Patrol Alpha, the Smoke Patrol mix, and it was coming from Mighty Switch Force 2. It was originally composed by Jake Kaufman, and this was remixed by Coda. That track that you just listened to, that was Soak Patrol Alpha Smoke Patrol Mix from Mighty Switch Force 2. It was originally composed by Jake Kaufman, and it was remixed by Coda. I want to say this was maybe the third time that Soak Patrol Alpha has popped up on this show. And I have to admit, it's probably one of my most favorite songs that I've ever played on this show. And it's just something I want to keep revisiting over and over again. And I really love this remix as well. There's a bit of a funkiness to it, and I really dug that one part that kind of referenced a Led Zeppelin song, which I thought was a bit odd but pretty cool at the same time. And I guess technically this song could be more of like a cover than a remix, because it doesn't really do too much changing up. I would say it's pretty faithful to the original for the most part. And I believe that this remix is actually part of the soundtrack, the official soundtrack for Mighty Switch Force 2. So I wonder if Jake Kaufman had some involvement with this. This next track I think is pretty cool. So there are some remixers out there that they like to take modern VGM and give it a retro sound to it. And I think one of the best ones out there is this YouTuber named Bulby. And he has this really cool remix of Puzzle Plank Galaxy from Super Mario Galaxy 2. And it was originally composed by Mahito Yokota, and it was remixed by Bulby. I think you guys are going to dig this. That track that you guys just listened to, that was Puzzle Plank Galaxy 8-bit Remix. It came from Super Mario Galaxy 2, and it was originally composed by Mahito Yokota and remixed by Bulby. I always found the idea of taking something from a modern game and giving it a retro makeover has always been super appealing to me. And it is one of those things that it is a little hard to pull off, because there are so many of these like 8-bit and 16-bit remixes of stuff out there, and most of them are not that good, or it's not like true to what it's trying to sound like. And I think Bulby does a pretty amazing job with his 8-bit remixes. And he's dabbled with 16-bit stuff as well. So he has a few different like Super Nintendo style remixes and even Sega Genesis remixes of various modern VGM. And what I really dig about this Puzzle Plank Galaxy remix that he did was that it honestly sounds like it could have been part of like Super Mario Brothers 3 and instead of Super Mario Galaxy 2. And I think that really shows that these video game composers today, that they are really good at what they do, and that they also have a lot of respect for the, I would say, musical ideals of the past. And that these NES and Sega Genesis and SNES tracks, they can fit with the music of video games today. And there are so many of these retro throwback games that honestly, like if Super Mario Galaxy 2 was like somehow like an NES throwback, that song and that remix, I would think it would totally fit with that. And speaking of having the feeling of nostalgia and taking you back to a time, this next track I think will definitely give a lot of people this feeling. So I want to play Pallet Town from Pokemon Red and Blue, and it was originally composed by Junichi Masuda, and this remix was done by Qumu. So let's give this one a listen. That track that you just listened to, that was Pallet Town from Pokemon Red and Blue. It was originally composed by Junichi Masuda, and this was a remix by Qumu. I absolutely love Qumu's work on these various remixes, and I want to say I first discovered him through Robin Purnell from Rhythm and Pixels. They have a segment on their show called the Bonus Round where they play remixes and covers of of various VGM, and they played one of his remixes on there, and I instantly fell in love, and I had to like listen to more of his stuff. And a lot of his stuff is very electronic heavy, pretty banging hot stuff. And what I really like about this remix is that it still has that electronic elements to it, but there's a bit of a relaxed feeling to it. You kind of just lose yourself into the song. And I'm not the biggest fan of the Pallet Town theme. It's just, to me, it's kind of just your normal beginning of game town music. But this remix, I think, makes it like 10 times better. And I think this is just one of those rare cases where a remix is way better than the original. And that's probably a bit of a hot take. And actually picking a track to represent Qumu was probably one of the hardest decisions I've had to make, because there's about a dozen tracks I could have played instead of this, and I would have been fine with it. And if I ever decide to do another remix episode, I'm definitely playing another Qumu track on that episode. So we're gonna pull a 180 on the scale of calm to energetic, and by energetic I mean totally rocking, because this next remix I think is really, really good. This is Metal Squad from Thunder Force 4. It was originally composed by Takeshi Yoshida and Toshiharu Yamanishi, and this was a cover by Saitama, Saisyu, Heiki. totally face-melting track that you just listened to. That was Metal Squad from Thunder Force 4. It was originally composed by Takeshi Yoshida and Toshiharu Yamanishi, and this was a cover by Saitama, Saisyu, Heiki. And that's going to just about do it for the show this week. If you like what you've been listening to, have your friends check out the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, whatever podcatching service that you could think of. I'm more than likely going to be on there. You can email the show at vgmjourney@yahoo.com, and you can also check us out on Twitter at vgmjourney. We also have a Discord server, which I will provide a link in the show notes, where you can hang out with your various VGM journeymen and talk about games and music and even look at some nice art. I'm also going to play things out with one more remix, and it is called Voodoo, Roots, and Grog, which this is a remix of LeChucks' theme from Secret of Monkey Island. It was originally composed by Andy Newell, Barney Jones, Patric Mundy, and Michael Land, and this remix was done by Alex Jones and Diggy Dis. Have a good week, everyone.